Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about two things. So mainly I'm going to be talking about what's going on in the Eastern Pacific, because it looks like the Eastern Pacific could be starting to wake up again. And I'm going to be briefly firstly though talking about the West Pac, because there's still stuff going on. So I'm gonna be briefly talking about the Western Pacific and what's going on there, and then after that I'll be going to to show you what's going to happen potentially in the Eastern Pacific, as it looks like things could start to liven up in the Eastern Pacific in the potential coming week or two. So let's get right into the video. So we'll look at the GFS first for the Western Pacific. So as you could see, Lakima's made landfall in Shanghai, but firstly went over the Ryukyu Islands, and it done this crazy thing. So it was heading towards some of the islands and that. I think it was Tarama, where it looked like it was going to make landfall at first. It looked like it was going to make a direct landfall, then all of a sudden it just stalled. Then it made a direct northerly turn, so it just it threaded the needle in between the islands and then started to turn northwest again. This is to do with the concentric eye wall. So when that happens, when there's two eye walls, the inner eye wall and then our eye wall tries to close in the inner eye wall, basically it's making the eyes start to wobble, and it makes the eyes start to jump around more. And because when there's so if there's just in an eye wall and there's no eye wall replaced with cycles, it's more predictable and it's more solid, and there's not much jumping about with with the eye. It's just got one eye wall. But when it's got two eye walls, and our eye walls trying to fight for dominance to try to take over from the inner eye wall, that's when the eye starts to become more jagged and starts to jump around, and that's when it becomes more uncertain what's going to happen with the track. So that was pretty interesting to see. Tarama Island on the eastern side, they just scraped the inner eye wall. I think it was for a few minutes, but it wasn't even the meat of the eye wall, it was just the edge of the eye wall, so they didn't really get much of it. But so yeah, that's made landfall in Shanghai, and that's starting to I've seen some photos, and it's caused damage which you just don't want to see at all. That's the worst part about cyclones and typhoons and hurricanes, when they make landfall. So if you're on the likes of Shanghai and that, and around the affected areas around Lakima, I hope you're all okay in that, and I hope you have took precaution in that. It's really bad seeing damage, and I just prefer it from a tracking perspective if they were just all out in the middle of the ocean and didn't affect anything. But unfortunately sometimes the setup is for it to hit land, which is just not good at all. But as I said, my condolences go out to everyone in the area who's affected, and the families being affected by Lakima, and potentially Crosa that's going to go to China. It looks like as a reasonably strong storm, maybe even a minimal typhoon. So look at Crosa here. So the isobars, so it's not really a typhoon. It's not where it has a full-on in a eye wall and it's really concentrated, and the wind's really strong in the core, and then it spreads out. With this, it just seems the winds are spread out, which is bad, obviously, but it doesn't have an actual inner eye wall where it's windy, and then when the inner eye wall comes, it just switches up, and then it just goes from going from just say 60-70 miles an hour to if it's a category 5, just say when you're still out just out on the edge of the eye wall. So when you're just about to go in the eye wall, winds are around hurricane strength, typhoon strength, but once you get into the eye wall, the winds just ramp up instantly. And with this, it just seems the wind's more spread out, so even when you get towards the center, it'll still be as strong as it is on the outskirts of the storm. So it's more, it's not it's not obviously it's not an area of low pressure or anything. It's obviously tropical, but obviously the wind field's more spread out, and it's not concentrated as what a normal typhoon would be. But as we go on though, it looks like it starts to compact itself again. So it's not as compact as it first was, but it's starting to get more compact to how it was. So the weekend, it's still strong, but it's more spread out with the wind. But as we go into early next week, into Wednesday, it starts to get more tighter with the isobars towards the core. So like that's more of a classical look of a typhoon, but even then it's not a proper like typhoon signature, but it's more compact. And when it makes a landfall in southwestern China, it's a pretty strong storm. It's going to make, well, according to the GFS, 958 millibars, and that's obviously really strong. And the main part of typhoons and hurricanes and cyclones, the most deadly part is rain. And this looks like it could be a big rainmaker as well. So if you're in the south, like western part of Japan, and even in like the northern parts of the islands, you're gonna have to keep an eye on Crosa, because this could be especially a rainmaker, and we could see some typhoon conditions, like typhoon winds, especially like really spread out as well. Then that makes landfall, and then the majority of the western Pacific stays relatively quiet, like some low pressure like systems, and obviously the monsoon is like still prevalent. So after Crosa goes through, it doesn't look like there's much sign, and plus there's high pressure around as well in the Western Pacific, which creates a little bit more of sinking motion. So in this setup, you can see why there's no typhoons or storms trying to form, because there's like suppressing air, it looks like. And I'll just quickly go on the relative humidity here, and like there is a little bit of rise in motion, but not as much as like just say right now. Like so right now, so like Crosa's coming through, but like when you get towards the end, there's more dry air like coming around. Yeah, so there's definitely more dry air like after Crosa comes through. So there is still a bit of moisture, but there's more like wind shear as well, like off the high pressure as well. So it looks like as time goes on, it's less favorable, and you can see here there's more like wind shear like streaming in from the east here. So after Crosa, it looks relatively quiet. Now the main part of the video is the East Pack, so it looks like it could like liven up now in the East Pack in like the coming weeks. So I wouldn't like worry about them forming like 100% yet, or even if they do form, I wouldn't worry too much about a landfall, because it's too early in the season. Because like normally at the end of the season, like this high pressure will come more this way, like south, and that's will become like more of like a western block. So when they start to come up here, that like they can't escape here or through the north, so there's tend to go eastwards like that. So as we go on into next week, looks like a tropical storm potentially with this system here, and then it goes a bit quiet again. And then into the following week, towards the 8th and 19th of August, there is like potentially hurricanes starting to form here, and it looks really compact and loads of moisture around it, like wrapping around it. Excuse me. So it looks like we could see a hurricane, but it's obviously far out, so we can't say for sure. Because look, if I go on the 6 o'clock run, if it quickly loads, so on the 6 o'clock run, how is it doing? Just forget about that. So as I said, like the further out it is, it's more like the further out it is, it's more unrealistic, because like especially with hurricanes and typhoons, like when it gets more unreliable, it's like after 4 days really. Like if it's more than 4 days, it's more unreliable. But you still have to like look for trends. If it keeps showing it, then it must be onto something. So yeah, so the 6 o'clock run is showing it as well, but then the most recent run is the same strength, but it's a bit north, so it has shown it. And if I look at the morning run, so it has shown it 3 times in a row now around the same time. So that is more of a trend. So we'll have to see if it keeps showing it, and then it strengthens into a pretty strong hurricane. If this was to come off, it'll probably be a high-end category 2, looks like. Maybe a category 3, maybe, but that's too hard to tell. But yeah, so potentially a hurricane, and it does start to scrape towards the eastern part, and like, well, it scrapes past the north of Bay of California, and by the time it makes landfall, it's pretty weak. So if that exactly came off, you'd be looking at maybe tropical storm winds and swells, and maybe a little bit of surge, but nothing too major. But like if that's to come off, like there will be rain. But I wouldn't like worry too much at all yet about this. So it's really far out, and if I go on the 6 o'clock run, you see it's way more out, and it doesn't even affect affect the coast at all. So as I said, it's just like one of those things you have to monitor. So it's showing it over and over again, which is a trend. So that's a sign that it's saying something happening around that time. Doesn't mean it's going to, but the chances are like increasing because it keeps showing it. So it's one of those things to keep an eye on, really. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see with that. And if I look at the ACM 850 millibar cyclonic vorticity here, so the darker the reds that are and the more circular it is, the more concentrated it is, the more spin there is in the atmosphere. So if you like, if you want to say hurricane form in like the middle of the ocean for tracking purposes, you want to see get more red and more concentrated. So as we go on here, so well, it is updating, but I'll show you the morning run as well. So there is a bit of vorticity here, but it's more elongated. There's two like circulation, like one to the south and one to the north. So it's more of a broad area of low pressure. It's like not really organized at all, and this is general, just broad area of circulation around the whole East Pac so far. And does it try to develop so far? No, but the GFS at this point didn't develop it until towards the 200 odd hour mark. So if we go on the morning run, we'll see if it develops anything. This could be maybe a start of development because it's quite elongated, yeah, but as it like went on, it become more circular and it's starting to get more spin to it. So could it be a sign of something to come? We'll just have to wait and see. And a new frame's coming, and there is something trying to develop. Yeah, it's more circular and it's more compact. And if I look at the 850 millibar wind, it's nothing really yet, but it is starting to get more organized and more circular in motion. So yeah, so it's one of those things just to keep an eye on it. And if it keeps away from land and it doesn't affect any land, then it could be great for tracking like purposes and like just seeing like what nature has to offer. Because when it doesn't affect land, hurricanes and typhoons are amazing to track. Like when it just affects no one and they're really strong and they have like a pretty decent size eye, and like you can see the mesovortices in the eye wall, and you can see the clear eye, and you can see all the way down to the ocean. It's pretty mesmerizing, and like from a tracking perspective, there are like amazing things to track. But the threat is obviously landfalls, and that's what we don't want. And when like stuff like that happens, we have to do our best to try give the information out to try to warn you like what could be coming your way. And if we look at the sea surface temperature anomalies based on average here for the Eastern Pacific, so the majority of the Eastern Pacific in the minute is pretty much above average. There is spots of average, but broadly speaking it's above average. But there is not a La Nina, but there's more of a cooler side of neutral forming now, so this could be a dampener for the Eastern Pacific. It could be not as active, which is obviously good if you don't want like landfalls, and no one like wants landfalls. But for a tracking perspective, I don't think there'll be as much to track in the Eastern Pacific maybe this season. We'll just have to wait and see. It could be a one-off where it could be more active. We'll just have to wait and see. Beja, California, interestingly, is about a degree and a half below average, but still pretty warm. And as you can see, the Bay Shore of California is still at the 26 to 29 degree mark, which is anything above 26 can support hurricanes and typhoons. And look at the eastern, like right on the coastline of Mexico here, it's 31 degrees and it's starting to spread out. So that's not a good sign. And if you head towards the Gulf of Mexico, yeah, it's majority in the 30s now, and there's an odd 31s. So it looks like it's starting to warm up now, but the cooling side of neutral might dampen the activity in the Eastern Pacific. But NOAA have released an updated forecast, and they're forecasting a backloaded season and potentially maybe above average season. They're forecasting a more likely chance of it being above average. So it's been very quiet so far. What I think is going to happen is towards the end of the month, towards September and October, that's when the switch flips, and that's what normally happens. If you look at 2017, I've had some storms throughout like the early months of the season, but it was generally quiet. But as we got into August, like mid to late August and September, October, that's when the switch flips. And climatologically speaking, that's what you expect. Because when it gets towards end of August and September, that's when the activity starts to ramp up, and that's when you have to really be vigilant and really keep an eye on for development. Because like you can't be complacent going, oh well, it looks like it's not going to be active because there's only been a couple of named storms. Yes, there's only been 2 named storms so far, which is below normal really for this time of year. But we have to remember, so got remainder of August, the remainder of September, October, November. You can still get storms in November, so really we've still got potentially 3 months plus of activity. In September and October could spawn out nearly an average season just out of space of a month and a bit. So our season could be in September and October, and that could be like our season, and that could be slightly above average as well. So just stay alert, just make sure you got your hurricane insurance and that sort of stuff. Like if there is damage from a hurricane, and like the best thing is to have insurance on it. And make sure you have your hurricane kit ready. Make sure you've took your generator like to get like tested and make sure it's working properly and everything's in order. Just make sure you know where to go. Like if there is a hurricane coming your way, just like make sure you have a plan ready to know like where to go, like when it does happen, like when a hurricane does potentially come. It's just best to have like a plan now, so you don't have to like rush around for like when it's coming. So yeah, my main like takeaway from this video is an East Packet could get more active, but a landfall seems unlikely, and the Atlantic's quiet at the minute. So we just have to watch out for signs and the models, and I have a feeling, like an actual feeling, it's gonna be a backloaded season for the Atlantic. Like September, October, it's gonna be the 2 main months where I think like the Atlantic can just spawn storm after storm after storm. Like 2017 spawned like more or less 4 storms at once. So, and as I said, even if it is below average, just say it only takes one. It only takes one storm to cause misery, in like, which is really bad. So even if it's below average and one storm creates a lot of damage, that is classed as an active season for them. Well, for the people that has especially been affected. So don't think, oh, it's gonna be below average, it's gonna be fine. It only takes one, so just remember that it only takes one. Okay, so that's it for today's video. I just thought I would be just a little bit more like serious towards the end of the video, cause like some people, like when they just say, oh, it's quiet so far, it's gonna be just a quiet season, we don't need to worry. No, you have to be cautious. Even if it is below average, be cautious, be prepared, and make sure you have everything ready in case there is a hurricane coming. And when they do form now, most hurricanes now go under rapid intensification. So for example, Michael, it was only forecasted at one point to hit the coast as a category 2. Look at that, turn out came a category 5. So you just have to be vigilant and make sure you have you're prepared. So yeah guys, so please like, subscribe, and I'll hopefully be doing a video in the next day or so.